Hello, my name is Dan Eccles, and this is my design pattern presentation for HCI 553, October 9th, 2006. So the subject matter of my design pattern evaluation concerned three different project management tools. The three of those are Basecamp, Slack, and Active Collab. So each of these have a unique set of advantages and disadvantages and how they apply their own perspective or respective design patterns. So I'm going to highlight a few of those for you, as well as indicate where they might be able to make some improvements. So to start off, timestamp is definitely a feature that is very important for project management tools. Communication is essential within project management. Teams that are working remotely, teams that are working even in the same office but aren't able to work, right next to each other, need to understand how they're communicating and when they're making updates to documents, assets, what have you. So each of these project management tools demonstrates the timestamp in a fairly effective way. So Active Collab here you can see indicates the amount of time 3 days ago. Basecamp does something similar with 6 minutes ago. Now Slack, which is more heavily communication based, indicates the actual time. And that's fine, because for Slack, it's a heavy communication base. It's really more of a activity thread that works for Slack. Whereas for Active Collab and Basecamp, these are more heavily task-oriented platforms. Therefore, understanding how recent some of the updates were made would translate into this different format, and it's effective in that matter. Also, I feel like sometimes, in a project management in a crazy busy world, sometimes, you're not exactly sure what time it is, and sometimes it's just easier to understand that this happened 6 minutes ago, so it's fairly recent. Next, moving on to filtering. So within these environments, there's a lot of content shifting around. People are making updates to message boards. People are adding documents, adding PDFs, getting client approvals, adding notes. So there's a lot of content going around and being added to these sites constantly. Slack does a nice job of filtering. So with two simple drop downs within the normal dashboard, it gives you a list of different file types, as well as being able to filter by your team. And then on this other side, you can start to filter by the type of actual file type or post itself. So you can really get really narrow in your results. And in doing so, it just narrows down the amount of content that you have to filter through in order to get to where you want to go. Now Basecamp does that similarly here, where it has a combined keyword search, as well as being able to search by subject. I'm sorry, not subject matter, but by user, as well as the project that you're working on. Additionally, there is the ability to search for an image file, and that's good. It functions appropriately. But what's extra nice about Slack is that it gives you this pre-sorted list of files, whether it be most recent or just for you, and those are types of settings that you can adjust yourself. And I think that that's definitely a feature that Basecamp could adapt fairly simply and would greatly improve its functionality for users. So lastly, I'll go over pivoting. So again, I mentioned previously that there is a number of different, or a vast majority of this content is being uploaded fairly rapidly by different users, different time zones, for different projects. So a lot of time is spent keeping up with these different activity feeds. So what pivoting means is that sometimes you're going to come into this page and for whatever reason you're using it, you're browsing it, you're scrolling up and down, but for because that seems like the quick way to find whatever you're looking for. Sometimes that doesn't work. So each of these tools provides you an option, which is the search function, so that you can pivot the way in which you begin to discover new content. So each of these tools has a search or find button that's readily available, consistently available, no matter what page you're on. And they do a fairly effective job of finding the documents that you're looking for. So, in conclusion, these project management tools are really created to increase efficiency with work and clarifying communication. And so we kind of went over just a few of what the advantages and disadvantages were in Basecamp. So Basecamp's primary job is to use tasks and associated due dates. So that's definitely its strongest feature. However, the ability to find documents, we went through it in the filtering section, was not that clear. We felt like there were definitely models that we could see within Slack that would improve the functionality of the filtering system within Basecamp. Additionally, and this was something that I did not identify with this presentation, but I did within the evaluation, is the buddy lists for Basecamp is fairly generic or old. It doesn't really give you the online status that can be a very effective way for communicating. So you don't necessarily see when a user is online or offline, and that can be a helpful tool when looking to communicate with members of your team. So I think that as an industry, these tools are only going to increase. Remote work is becoming a staple for the modern work life, and working remotely, working these types of online project management tools is only going to increase. So as they evolve, as will the design patterns. Thank you very much.